Welcome to Unsuccessful. We're your hosts, Jen.
And I'm Brandi, and this is the podcast where we admit out loud
that we suck.
So if life has ever felt like a dumpster fire,
you're in the right place.
Well, let's get into it.
This week on Unsuccessful, we're getting into something that sounds super practical, but ends up getting real deep real fast, as usual. We're talking about time blocking, organizing your day, and why even the most color-coded calendar in the world won't fix the burnout you're pretending isn't there. On paper, this is about productivity. But by the end, you'll hear me drop a truth bomb about why time and task management might not actually be the reason you're exhausted. Hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you don't miss a beat, and let's get into it.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Brandi.
Welcome back to Unsuccessful. It's been a while since just the two of us have
I know.
shot the shit.
I'm excited. It's kind of nice.
Shot the shit?
It's exciting to shoot the
shit. Shoot the shit, not shot the shit.
Past or present tense. Doesn't matter.
Not really. So today we're talking about, boy, Jen, you go into it.
We're talking about time.
Time. I know. I was going to say time. We're talking about time.
Time and time freedom and how it relates to being an entrepreneur and if it's relatable.
Yeah, the relatable. This is where it's coming from. The beginning of the conversation. And I think this conversation is going to go lots of different directions.
As they usually do.
As they always do. And Jen said to me, I have a lot of people that come up to me and say, oh, are you working today?
Because I'm at Safeway in like my gut, my hoodie and comfy pants on a Tuesday at 1:30.
Yeah. Like, oh, you're not working today, or are you working today, or when you working?
I'm like, no, I'm working. And then they kind of give me the up and down, and I'm like, yeah.
But it's like, when are you not working? You're always working. It's just, it's a very different, like, in what we do and how we've done it. And that's what we were talking about as well, is like getting to where we are, where we have control of our schedule, our own time management. So yeah, it's that. It's
so different. And I think we've both worked for ourselves for such a long time. And there was a time, and we both came from 9 to 5s, right? So there was a time when I started off with Teacup and I was on my own. I remember the first, I would even say 6 months of working for myself and being an entrepreneur, that I was stressed out in the morning. 7:30 would roll around and I'd be like, I have to sit on my computer.
Yeah.
And we started work at 7:30 where I worked. That's where we started. So you have to start work. And it was really hard.
Habit.
It was the habit.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was a really hard program to break, of just being able to accept that just because everyone else is working right now doesn't mean you have to be, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the contrast between having this time freedom, Shauna talked about it in her episode 12, I believe, if you want to go back and listen to that. She talked about we're in this beautiful spot in our life where we have time freedom. And that is a really precious thing, but hard to get there.
Yeah. So it's hard to get there potentially, or like hard to manage. It's a new way of being, or when you're in it, it's like one of the things we were talking about is self-motivation, right? Mm-hmm. And so like for you, for example, when you were stepping out of that 9 to 5, working for yourself, and then had this like, we say 9 to 5, but you were 7:30 and you were like, had this habit of being anxious. 7:30, I got to get to work. And so, but then that external pressure is no longer there. So then you were like creating it for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's been probably like an evolution of what that looks like over time. And then you become like, I'm not even sure exactly. Is it you relax into it? Do you learn from other people? At what point, like, does things shift for you? Like, I know that is like the concept of time. Mm-hmm. I think this is interesting because I think that for me is like always been difficult to kind of comprehend or understand. And, whether we're trading our time for money, right? And that's, I think, that's probably what comes out of the 9 to 5 mentality, is trading time for money. I know for me anyway.
Yeah.
I really.
It makes sense to the most amount of people.
And it does make sense for, I make this much an hour. If I miss this day, I lose out on this much money. Just by, but versus the entrepreneurial world where it's value-based.
Yeah.
It's the contributions, the problems that you're solving, and
The
not
experience you
the
have, pay you for your
exactly
experience.
pay for your experience. There's this, I mean, there's all these different kind of, it's very different.
Yeah.
Than just trading time for money. So I know, like, for me, that's always been, the time piece when I was in a service-based business, that was time for money, for sure. But then outside of that, in a business, there's more than the service aspect. There's running the business. There's marketing the business, the admin. There's just, there's, I mean, the 8,000 hats that you wear. Like, I love how I just said like 2 things, but there's way more than that.
There's 8,000 hats that you wear, but it's like payroll and like finances,
social media, whatever.
Social media,
finance.
yeah.
Like, there's 8,000 different things that you're doing.
But there really are.
There really are. So then you have to manage that time, and you're like, okay, like, how do I fit this all in, right? And then the other piece is, I think that this is the paradox of entrepreneurship, is that a lot of people will do it for the time freedom, but then find themselves sucked into there's no time.
Right.
And I think we both have been there, like in the sucked and have no time, and you're in the rat race and the cog wheel. Mm-hmm. And then flip on the other side where you do have some more kind of time freedom, flexibility. You know, it's shifted. Yeah,
the natural growth curve. I wonder if there's a bell curve of time in entrepreneurship, right? Just over time, you start to just realize what's important and what's not important. I think that there's always circumstances that just aren't relatable for people who need to get up and do the things. And I think everyone's different too. I think within 9-to-5 jobs, you're still going to have certain routines. You're going to have certain time blocks. You know, they say that in office settings, people are only working about 4 hours a day. I think if that. And the other 4 hours of that day are spent chatting, getting a drink, going to the bathroom, or whatever else. So I always looked at that time too. I was always in the back of my mind. I believe that's in the book, 4-Hour Work Week or something?
Probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I read that very, very early on in my career, like in my early 20s. And so I was kind of always striving for that. But I find too, or what I found before I relaxed into having more time freedom, was that, again, I was more anxious, but also guilty of the fact that my team's here at the shop doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lay down on my sofa for 45 minutes and have a quick little nappy nap. And I felt really guilty about that. Even when we were in the peak of Teacup and we had our busiest year and everything was humming right along, I didn't really have a lot of that purpose. So what I found myself a lot of the time out of the guilt, I found myself looking for make work projects, and I just created more things that I felt were important because I needed to be important, even though we had a full team. Yeah. We had a full team. Really, I had to do marketing, but I couldn't step back. And it was, now looking back, anxiety driven. It was 100% anxiety driven. And it was the same kind of energy that was in the beginning when I quit Avonlea and started on my own. That was anxiety driven too. So yeah, it's interesting.
Well, we've talked about that too with myself, like the financial piece, very much anxiety driven, right? And it's, you got to make it work. So in the beginning, the time freedom was more the flexibility.
Yeah.
And absolutely, like the flexibility is definitely what kind of drives, I think, a lot of people to go work for themselves, right?
Yeah.
To be able to go to,
100%.
you know, Safeway at 2:00 in the afternoon or whenever it is that you need to do. So that's, anyway, that for me is like what drove me, for sure. I needed to, like, it was with my kids, young kids. This is where a lot of women are working for themselves that way too, or finding side hustles or whatever it is that they need to do, because it is about flexibility, being able to like take your kids here, there, and everywhere to doctor appointments and their soccer and their hockey and whatever it is that you have going on, right? And then just being there, being the default parent.
Yeah.
Being the default parent. So yeah. Anyway, it's I think let's dig in a little bit. Does it bother you when people say, "Oh, hey, Jen, are you working?"
Let's see. It doesn't bother me. I almost like get a chuckle out of it. Like I'm almost like this, knowing if I know that person or know where they've come from, like the concept of what I do is so hard to grasp. Yeah. And I think even with us, like working from home is a different concept than being an entrepreneur. So a lot of entrepreneurs, they go in somewhere every day and they go and they show up. I think that because I created Teacup to be really home-based, right? I found out I was pregnant with Arlo 3
virtual,
weeks. Virtual.
A virtual.
Exactly. Company. And because I created it to be where I could work from anywhere and be at home, I don't need to put pants on. But like legit, I don't need to put nice pants on. No, I don't. Usually I just do it for myself. So when someone asks me in the store and they say, "Oh, what? You're not working today?" It's always, "Oh, you're not working today," because of what I'm wearing.
And the fact that I'm here at 2:00.
Yeah. I don't even know. Yeah, exactly. In the middle of the day. That's right. What I'm wearing and the fact that I'm there at 2:00. I think that if I was dressed in like dress clothes, because this has happened before too, where I've gone in and I don't get asked those questions. Yeah. We do a little social experiment on that. We should record it from body cams and go in. Anybody? Because I'm there at that time in what I'm wearing, they always look me up and down and go, "So you're not working today?" And now I just say, "Oh, I just do whatever I want when I want." That's what I say. They're like, "Oh, it must be nice." I'm like, "It is nice." Like, I'm like, "Yeah, it is really nice." And then on the other hand, I start to wonder what their thoughts are. So at the same time, walking around our lake behind our house, right? We have this little community and I don't know everyone. I know some people, they don't necessarily know me well. And some of them maybe only know me for like my personal, the real Jenny McCarthy Instagram account, you know what I mean? Instead of the Teacup account or the other things that I have going on. And, so I have had some of them ask me again when I'm walking hobs at who knows, 10:30 or 2:30, same thing around the lake in my shorty shorts and tank top. They're like, so what do you do? Like, what do you do? Do you just like, are you at home? Do you stay at home? And I'm like, yeah, I stay at home. I have like a seven-figure company that I own and basically run and other things, but I stay at home. How nice is that? And I wonder, and Nick is very successful, and it's more like he gets up, he leaves the house every day. Yeah. You see people leaving their house to go to work to and from. You kind of know and I don't really leave. Well, I often wonder, I always laugh because when we built our pool in the backyard, and I don't really know my neighbors very well either. The one I know really well, but that's about it. And it's always interesting. I'm like, I wonder what they think because like we're home a lot. Like, I know that, like, our vehicles are home. My husband, again, being a firefighter paramedic, like, really, it's like with the shift work, he's home a lot. I'm home all the time. So they must be like, what do they do? Like, they know that he's what he is because we had a firefighter sticker on the van, the car, or whatever. They know that. I actually had one neighbor once come and knock on the door. He needed help. Yeah. And he was like, "Your husband's a firefighter paramedic, isn't he?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's not home. Call 911. Yeah. Like you need a medical emergency, call 911. But it's just like, so they know, right? Yes. They're aware of that's what I'm saying. They don't know, but they're aware. And I just often wonder, cause like, what do they think? Like, what do I do? And it's more the wonder. I don't really care what they think. Yeah. I just wonder, what does it look like from the outside? What is that perspective? Of what we do. And like we've talked about before, even our kids, my kids, like they understand the shop. They understand that dad goes to the store to work. They understand mom builds tiny homes at the shop. We have to go to the shop. But I sit here at my kitchen table with papers and samples and shit everywhere. You see it right now. And I'm just click and doing all the stuff and on that computer for hours. But it might be 2 hours here and then 2 hours in the afternoon and then 2 hours after they go to bed. And they don't have a goddamn clue what I'm doing on that computer. No, right? And we've talked about this before. Yeah. And it's with the boys episodes, we were talking about how like Brent doesn't know how to explain it to people. And right. He doesn't. I mean, even myself, I don't even, right? Because so it's like, okay, I can start to kind of explain it, but it's just, it is hard for people to understand. I think the biggest thing, the easiest one is like when people ask me, okay, well, where is Sana located? Like, well, we're in Canada. I live here in Lethbridge and Chanel's in Calgary. And, our operations and customer services happens to be in Lethbridge too, but we don't see each other ever, just on Zoom. And we have a warehouse in Edmonton. We have a, manufacturing facility in Edmonton. We have a manufacturing facility in Ontario. We've got a warehouse in the US and we've got, contractors that are all across the world,
in the Philippines or whatever. It's like funny how they want like one location where everything is. And then it's like, okay, wow. Okay. So like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Right. And that's, I mean, nowadays, I think it's getting a little bit easier to understand.
I think COVID made it easier to understand.
Yeah. But this was prior to this, right?
Yeah,
so
no, I know.
Were really confused. Yeah. And then also like, I think the other thing is like building a brand, like a product line. People really have a hard time with that. Like they don't really understand it.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like e-commerce and online, and it's, it's like a whole line of products with a whole line of customers and different types of customers. And anyway, we're getting kind of off topic, but no, I think what's interesting is that it's all about, you mentioned the concept of it must be nice, right? And you know what? It is nice. It is nice, obviously, but we created this for ourselves.
Yes.
And a part of that, I remember, this is going back before I became an entrepreneur. And then when I did the coaching, and one of those exercises that I think I've done 8,000 times and I continue to think about constantly is that building your perfect day.
Yeah.
Right.
You set the intention. That's part of setting the intention. Yeah.
Build the, but even just like, okay, so say you are in a 9 to 5 or whatever it is. And we're not poo-pooing on a 9 to 5. We're just like, what is it in your life that you want to change? It doesn't matter. Perhaps you enjoy that. I don't know. Like you enjoy your work, you enjoy going to the office, you enjoy, the people that you see, all of that. Right. Great. Love that. It's the people that don't. Okay. Then what can you change? How can you change it? And I think it's oftentimes it's like we get stuck in, but I can't because I'm here and I can't see any sort of opportunity for change. So I can't change it, versus kind of allowing yourself to dream and like going the what if. And I think that's something like I know that I do. It's like, what if? And that's difficult to do. It's like, because it feels reckless. It feels irresponsible. And I think we need to take the time to do that. Like that's really the basis of manifestation as well, right? Is when you're really just dreaming and then going, okay, what if I did this small change? What if, there's this position in this company that I love so much, but it offers a little bit more flexibility. Maybe what are the things that I can do to achieve that? Yeah. Right. And then, working towards it. So, and I think like, that's a question that I've asked myself like hundreds and thousands of times, to be honest, like, because it constantly changes, like, right. Work changes, your business changes,
family changes.
There's so much change constantly. And then you're going, okay, especially if you feel out of alignment. And then it's like, okay, what do I need now? Like, what does my perfect day look like now that things have maybe changed or I've achieved that? Like, that's one of those sayings that you often see. It's like somebody right now is living the dream life, or the life that you're living right now is a life that other people are dreaming about. And sometimes you're like, oh, this sucks right now. Right. Kind of a feeling. But if I'm honest with myself and if I look back, it's like, okay, I took all these little small incremental steps to get where I am now. And yeah, maybe it's not my like dream, but I'm getting there too. And I'm working towards it.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. I understand what you're saying for sure. Like the setting the intention for what your day, what you want it to be, maybe 10 years, 5 years, or like, what does it look like?
Yes.
That is really, it's almost like goal setting in a way, because then as we've talked about before, your reticular activation system kicks in and it starts to look for ways for that to happen. But if you don't set that perfect day, then you're just going to be out there in kind of in just routine, automatic programming.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to be in this state where you're just going with the flow. And so really you're not in control of what you're doing. You're letting external circumstances control you. And that's where you don't make progress. And that's where you don't hit your goals if you don't have a really good intention set. And one of the things I've thought about a million times too, it's always, I find with everyone, it's financial freedom and time freedom. But when I went through my, bad case of burnout, when I was going through that year, I was really realizing that I wasn't striving for the fortune. I was striving for the freedom. And that time freedom was even bigger than the financial freedom, because you kind of get to a point where like, okay, we make good money, right? But more money usually allows you to have more time freedom, right? Does that make sense? But it doesn't have to either. So I think we all want more money, but what we're actually really craving is the freedom in our life to do the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
And without being able to see that and notice it, we can't work towards it. So for example, a lot of baby boomers who are looking to retire, they don't have any idea of what that looks like. They don't even know what retirement looks and feels like. So what happens as soon as they're done working and as soon as they're not needed at the wherever they work in the business anymore, that's where you see a lot of people's health decline because they don't have that purpose. They don't have the community because that was a big part of who they were. Mm-hmm. And then, you see so many people who will pass away or get sick right after they retire. And that has a lot to do with it because they haven't thought of what am I going to do when I retire? I'm just retiring. Their goal is retirement, but they haven't thought beyond that. They haven't updated that goal to fit where they are in their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting. Like, I think like for me, retirement, and this is an interesting concept because like retirement doesn't really exist for me.
Me neither.
It doesn't in my vocabulary, in my thought process. It's just build a life.
Yes.
So yeah.
I know. I have a hard time with like financial advisors and financial planners with that because they're always like RSPs, all of that. And I'm like, I don't believe in RSPs. They're like, well, why? I'm like, because I plan to make more money when I retire than I'm making now. And I am on track to be doing that.
Yeah.
Because you set up more. And I mean,
but you have another philosophy. We can talk about that another time.
Yeah, about financial side of things. Finance. But what it is like it is a concept.
I was going to say with finances, it's all about strategy, and you pick a strategy and stick with it. And you go. There you go.
I like that. There you go. My strategy isn't RSPs, just saying. This is not financial.
It's a different strategy.
Please talk to a financial advisor, financial planner. Read the fine print. Going back to time freedom. So financial freedom and time freedom. Yeah. And how relatable are our conversations to the general public? And again, this podcast is based off of being entrepreneurs. The fact that we're sitting here Wednesday afternoons.
Well, I think the other thing that's kind of interesting is another concept that's been really filling my head, and it kind of percolated when you were chatting about the different types of freedoms, was really like freedom of thought.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I think for me is probably, and it always has been kind of there and driven me. It's not necessarily, it's like time, money, then me being able to kind of do what I want to do and when I want to do it. And, or like, just not having somebody to kind of answer to, I guess, to an extent, and being in line with that, with the thought process and the people that you're working with. Like I say, like for some people, they do feel really aligned with that, right? So that's another kind of, I think, freedom as well.
Yes, that we can operate in. And some people can't operate in that. Like, I know Nick, like when Nick goes to work, he knows like if he checks the list, if he does A, B, C, D, E, F, G in a day, he's going to make between this many and this many sales. He's going to crush it, and he's going to make about this amount of money. And he just knows, and he can go and do that.
Go and do it. Yeah.
And he can figure out how to tweak that system and make it better within that system. He's really good with that. For me, I'm like, this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But what if we put like Y? What would Y do? We put Y right in here between F and G. That might be neat. And then
I'm the same.
People are like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
What is Y? I'm like, but look, it's working. And they're like, wow. So, but you need all those types of people. I love the book. We're getting so off topic about time. But anyway, the freedom of time. I love the book Rocket Fuel because it talks about your visionary and your integrator, and you need both of those people. But at the same time, I think it's important that when you have your integrators, the ones who are really putting those processes and are doing the day-to-day stuff in the business or in whatever activity you're doing, you could even put it into home life, right? Whoever is doing those things, they have to understand that they are the doer. And the visionary's here, and they have to like realize that the visionary expels so much energy sitting and thinking. And that is just exhausting as being able to like hammer out a 12-page Excel spreadsheet. Yeah. And so when people look at us like in the grocery store on Tuesday afternoon in our comfy pants,
we're thinking.
We are thinking. And some of the best solutions come when you just stop intentionally thinking about it and you start to subconsciously think about it. And it might even be the interaction with the person. This is what I love. Might be the interaction with the person at the store that asks you, you're not working today? And that might trigger a thought, just being around that person, of how to solve a problem that you're looking at. Or they might say something, or they might introduce you to someone else, right? So
absolutely,
it can be really magical.
Yeah. Every single time.
Every single time, right? With the intention setting, when I was super burnt out again, I started looking for these little minuscule moments in my day that were actually living my ideal life. And it was a way for me to kind of pull my head out of my ass and realize that I was more on track than what my brain and body were telling me at that moment. And that was one of the big things that I figured out, was that today I got groceries on Tuesday at 2 p.m. And that to me is a wish fulfilled moment, that is part of what I want in my successful future. And then taking the dog on the walk, or going to a kid's field trip, or even making muffins sometimes for the kids' lunches instead of just store-bought everything. Those were the little moments that I started to hold on to really tightly and integrate more of, because that was success to me. It still is success to me. Is to not be so bogged down by have to do things that you have the freedom to do whatever.
So what's interesting, because we've talked about burnout a ton. And so like, it's so fascinating because again, I'm coming back to this idea, like here we are having this time, freedom, flexibility. We're burnt out as fuck. Yeah, we're burnt out as fuck. Like it's, what is this?
I know.
So,
it's a conundrum.
It is a conundrum. But that's where I'm saying in the beginning here, when we're talking about like, you have this intention of, right. And then you operate in this way of, again, the like, I don't know how to explain it, but the 9 to 5, you operate in this like one way, and then you take it's just like the concept of how you have, in order to get somewhere to a new level, you have to operate in a different way. Mm-hmm. And what I think what we all kind of tend to do is when we step out of that like 9 to 5 and we continue to take how we've operated and we put that into this new experience of working for yourself, and it doesn't work. And so then that's, I think, what potentially leads to burnout. And so then that's what you have to do, is you have to figure out, because it's like actually doesn't work. Like you can't operate as an entrepreneur, balancing the visionary and the integration. Like even for yourself, like I'm sure, when you were getting started, like, you ultimately ended up with a large team, but it was just you in the beginning, and with probably one other person, right?
It was literally just me.
Just you.
For 3 years.
Exactly. Yeah. Right? So it's just you. So it's just you having to do that, right? And so it does eat up a lot of your time. And eventually, obviously, the idea is that, you'll get that back. Having said that, you have to be intentional about that, because if you don't, and that's where they say that business is the biggest personal development, roller coaster, you have to figure that out for yourself. You have to take steps to do that.
Yeah, like I say, I think we fight the natural growth curve of so many things. Mm-hmm. If there is just a natural progression, it's the law of gestation, right? Yeah. The law of gestation. You can't make a baby. You can't say, I want to have a baby, and say we're pregnant, and then a baby comes up the next day. Like it takes a certain amount of time for an idea to come to fruition. And through that, there's all these little micro processes, maybe not so micro processes, that are happening in the background that you might not realize. So we might be mad that we're tired. We might be mad at the thing that's going on. We might be frustrated and feel like we're not getting anywhere. But what if that's just part of the process? And I always say, trust the process, because, trust, again, even with depression and burnout and sadness, your monthly cycle, your hormone changes, trust that natural process, that this is part of it, and that what you're going through and what's happening and what you're doing is going to serve you. Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in 10 years, but somewhere along that line, that's going to serve you. I think that's important to remember too.
So do we have any?
Well, I was thinking how I would like you to run through your day. What does your day look like?
Okay, so my day now is very different.
Yes.
I'm in transition.
Brian's in transition.
I'm in a big time transition right now. So, but and that's the thing, like you talk about when you were in burnout and latching onto the moment. And so that's definitely where I'm at right now. And so I'm able to do that. Like right now, I'm definitely in transition, figuring it out. I'm working less than I ever have. And that's okay.
Do you feel great?
Yes. I mean, I'm feeling like a little bit anxious, but not. It's I'm trusting the process. I'm not like it's like if I was to think about it in my head, I'd be anxious, but in my body, I'm not. So, and again, I'm aware of that. So I'm like, just again, trusting the process. So what does my day look like now?
Yeah.
So I have for the last however many years, I tend to wake up early. I go to bed early. I wake up early. So any time between 5 and 6, sometimes 4:30.
It's usually when I get I wake up at 7 to text messages like, you don't do that.
Yes. So, but I'm in bed like 9. It's like a 7.5 hour, 8 hours, sometimes even 9 hours sleep. Like I get the sleep prior to obviously the perimenopause and all the things happening. I will happy to report though sleep is a lot better right now. I've been on HRT and it's working.
Yeah.
And anyway,
good.
So sleep's good. So I wake up early, and that's usually when my brain is firing. You know, I get half a cup of coffee and not even a quarter, a couple sips, and my brain is on fire. And that is my most creative time. So, and what's nice about that is that I can kind of like execute on whatever it is that I need to kind of do in creative. It's always been a battle though too, because that's also when I like to work out too. It's like early in the morning. So, it depends. Like, what's always often hard. I'll get up and I'll start working on something. I get creative, and then I'll be like, "Oh no, I gotta meet my trainer," and I'm rushing because I get in the flow so quickly in the morning. Having said that, so I know this about myself, and that this has been years now, and it's almost like I should probably. I've tested different things. This is a tip as well. I think you have to test it. And then I also think that you can't get married to something either. If it's working for you for a year, then maybe it's not working for you the next year. That's fine. Especially with kids, and things changing. And like, I know it was very easy for me to go to sleep, like be in bed before 9 when my kids were little. And now this calm, like I can do it. Like there was a transition period when my kids were like, they couldn't put themselves to bed, and yet they were up later, and I'm just like, go to bed.
Yeah, I'm done.
Tired, I'm done. And obviously those are only on the nights when like my husband is like working nights or something like that, where I have to put them to bed. Now it's like, I just go to bed. I'm like, see you guys, put yourselves to bed. Because I get cranky. But anyway.
I'm definitely in that phase of I have to put them to bed and I'm done and I'm tired.
And you're done and you're tired. Like yes.
My kids go to bed early and they hate that. Like, why do we have to go to bed so early?
Because mom's going to bed early. And
I don't want to be around you anymore.
Yes. Yeah, that too.
I love you. But
anyway, I think like I remember in working with a coach, and I think that's the thing, like building your perfect day. You can think about it, but then you have to put it into practice, right? You have to do little things. Okay. What is it? Let's try this. Do I like this? Do I like going to the gym in the morning, or do I like to go in the gym at like, early morning or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or 12 or 3 o'clock or 5? Like what works for me? When am I most productive with like writing, creativity, maybe even like social media stuff, emails, like whatever it is that you're doing in your work day. So what's interesting is like, I'll work. Like a lot of my friends will joke that I'll, put in a full day all before 9 a.m. Like just work day. And then the world's getting up to going to work. So and that's something that, again, that's where that time freedom comes in. But that works for me. And then I've also like done tons of reading and obviously following or learning from other entrepreneurs and like their different patterns. And that doesn't work for everybody. Like the 5 a.m. What book is that? The 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
Yeah. Which I don't think you've even read, but I'm in it.
In the club. This is a better club than the other club that you were talking about a few episodes ago, I think.
Yeah. But anywho, there's a lot talking about my morning, but the morning is like my
day.
That's my day. It is my day. The morning is my day. And I've learned that with myself, and I love that. And then the rest of the day, honestly, is very reactive, kind of whatever comes my way. But like the stuff that I want to work on and get done, it's in the morning. Like the goal, the type, like check off the box. It's the morning is my best. And then after that, and I find potentially like I'm very reactive, and that's when the rest of the world is up. So then, especially when I had like a whole team of people that would be messaging me, like, you got to remember like when they're up. So it's like 9 to 5. So then the rest of the day is me just responding and leading and deciding, okay, tomorrow morning I got to put this system in place at 5 a.m. because this is broken, right? Or where it's just me time to create, think, do, and then, deploy to the team, basically. Yeah. And so, yeah. The other thing is like, and then obviously getting the kids up to bed or out of bed to school. Beautiful thing that I have is my kids can walk to school, which I love.
I always see Ty got a stick or a rock or on his bike doing like swerves.
A crazy hat.
Yeah, crazy hat. I always see Ty walking.
Yeah. And so anyway, get them up, get them out the door, and then continue kind of on my morning. And it just really depends. And then usually meetings, like taking meetings probably in the morning, and then things have really changed for me. So the afternoons are pretty kind of open, flexible, really just responding. I think like the morning is where it's, but I also probably kind of that changed for me and it turned for me. Like I remember when it did, because again, we have a global business and a lot of the work and the people that we worked with were in the Eastern time zone. Mm-hmm. So I kind of operated out of an Eastern time zone. So, but it was fine for me. Like it was great. Like, because I'm up early. And in fact, a lot, like we had a sales girl at Eastern. She was hilarious because she'd be like, Brandi, she's like, I can't even get out of bed. You've done more work than me. And like, and 2 hours ahead of time. She's like, and I'm 2 hours ahead of you. Anyway, but yeah, but that's, I think like, I guess my perfect day, again, is evolving. I think what's the interesting thing is like when I first started this exercise, it's the time blocking, right? Mm-hmm. And the time management. And then I think the things that were important to me was to be able to, again, go to functions of my kids, drop them off or be there, before school, after school care when they were little, breakfast in the morning. The mornings, like there is nothing. And I know like, you are dealing like it's chaos, right? And you have to take the kids.
The gong show.
It's a gong show. Having said that, it was so much more stressful for me when I was at the bank and where they were.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, especially because you have like a manager, literally.
Yeah.
With the philosophy of if you're 5 minutes, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I can get on board with that to an extent, but no, like I think like it's a respectful thing. Like if there's a meeting, like you show up on time. Like I have a thing with time.
Me too.
Like that. Yeah. That's but just, I find this like, that's so archaic. Like there's so many things now, and then you're stressed out and there's traffic and there was, a car crash on Whoop Up and then, you walk in and then your boss is looking at you like you're the worst thing in the world. You know what? And it's that 5 minutes that, maybe you're on time, but you're not 5 minutes early. So that really like sets up your day for a big failure because it's like, it's all about that and not about the productivity that you did. Like it just is ridiculous.
Whereas you could hammer out all of your work because you're a productive person and you do that in 2 hours or whatever.
So it's like being on other people's schedules. Anywho, I think what's interesting is the evolution of this because there's the time freedom in that capacity. And now, like I say, I'm like really in this freedom of like thought and creativity, which was a part of that too. But even more so now, like I hold that with much more like
more value.
It has more value to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to like just be authentic.
Yes. Yeah.
And
speak
align
to your soul. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
To like put yourself into a box.
I don't know. Does that answer your question, Jen?
Yeah. Kind of. No, you did. Yeah. A few.
I think it's like, okay, it's so hard because what I want to do is kind of come outside of myself and look in. And I think what other people would see is that I do spend a lot of time with my family and with my own family. And that's great. Like the fact that like once many years ago, when the kids write little letters home to their parents or whatever with their things. I remember my daughter wrote saying like she loves coming home and seeing me when you said at the kitchen table with the computer. It's cute. Even my hairstylist asked me the other day, I think it was her. She was like, where do you work? Where do you work? And I'm like, well, it depends. That's how I'm feeling. I might be at the kitchen table. I might be here. I might be there. I might be in the pool house. I'm just like all over, right? Who knows where I'm going to be. But anyway, like that. So that's the thing. It's like, okay, that's the perfect day for me. Right. And then, I will say though that, what I had to learn, like just because I'm working and then the kids are coming home and they're seeing me kind of working, I still need to like stop, acknowledge them. Yes. Like that is something actually I felt something was off. I don't know. Maybe I just took the initiative and I was like, okay, this is something I need to do because I don't want them. It's just a different world now, right?
You want to know that they're engaged, like instead of just behind the screen all the time or whatever. Engaged.
Yeah. So those are things that I like made conscious efforts to do. It's like, especially in the morning, and that's actually the morning is the hardest time for me again, because I like get in my zone, and so then I'm like up for a couple hours, 2-3 hours in the zone, and then I got to get them up, and then I got to get out the door. And sometimes and get back into it. And then what's interesting now is they're older, because again, they can do things themselves. Like even this morning, it was like needy. And, you know, and they're doing their own thing at this point, you know, and then they're like, bye mom. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I wanted to acknowledge you more. Yeah. Like, right. And I do have those days, and it's like, I get up, and it's cute because some of them, I'll be like, I'm like, hold on, don't leave. I got to get up, you know, kiss, like all the things. Right. Anyway,
I like that.
I went on a tangent.
You did a little.
Yeah.
It's okay.
What about you, Jen?
Well, it's not necessarily my perfect day, but what my day is, and again, it's changed. Yeah. So when I was on the road to burnout, I talk about that too. Yeah, on the road to burnout. And I actually had some free downloads. So if some of you that are listening got that download, I have a template for time blocking.
Time block. That's right.
Yeah. Yes. And I've taught time blocking for quite a long time. And it's not really, it's about so much more than time blocking. And time, you have to consider boundaries. You have to consider, again, when to be flexible. I don't think you should be flexible with the boundaries, but you should be flexible with yourself. That makes sense. I feel that a lot of people that don't have enough time, they actually are very shitty at setting boundaries. That's what I found through coaching people.
This is like so brilliant right here.
Yeah, you're welcome. So it's not a time problem. It's a boundary problem. That's really usually what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm just I think one of my strengths is really recognizing where things need to change, setting boundaries. Again, I've done boundary courses with people too. But implementing those boundaries, and people can set boundaries, but then they can't implement them properly in a way that works for them and the people around them and the relationships that they're in. Yeah. And I think that's where people start to feel like, I don't have any time, and they get burnt out and they get stressed because of those boundaries.
Yes, preach.
There you go.
That was like Instagram. That was a big lesson. I agree with that. It was interesting. I don't know how many years ago this was now. So I was like all things to all people for a long time. And we'll never forget it. I had one of our clients, she sent me an Instagram message. And then she said to me, she says, I just really appreciate it. Granted, she appreciated it. And she was very kind.
Yes.
But what she said to me was, I love how available you are.
Yeah. Well, that's going to see, whenever you're validated for something you're doing, even if it's wrong, you're going to feel like you have to do it more.
You see, but in that moment, though, I went, oh, no, good. That's what's wrong with me.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
A lot of people
But
won't.
A lot of people won't.
They'll go, I'm doing a good job. I have to do more of this.
I have to do more. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, this is why I'm a shit show. Yeah. It's because I'm too available.
Yes. I'm not available. I'm not unavailable.
I am not anymore. I'm still available.
Even when you said, like, in your afternoon and your team was texting you, and I was like, fuck no. Yeah. I also preach, like, teach people how to answer their own question, you know, and like, don't come.
We were just, you got to remember, we had like, it was constant growth, right? Like, it's not scaling, it's new. Does that make sense? New. So I build, find somebody else to do it, take it on, manage it. And take it, right? And so things would break. Things would, you know.
And online too, even everything we do online, everything works really great until one link shits the bed.
But that's the problem. And so me being like the integrator at Sana, because I knew everything. So it's like sometimes if one thing over here wasn't working, it actually had nothing to do with that. It had something to do with something over here that nobody would have even thought of. So it was kind of like, and again, it's a blessing and a curse. So that's the nature of it, though. Yeah. But yes, no, I do agree with you. But it was like when you're in this like rapid growth of like new this and new that and tech, that's just where I was at that time.
I think that you can definitely get into the habits too. And sometimes it's faster to just do it yourself instead of like taking the time to pause and teach someone else. I do that still. But I also think that I lost my train of thought. What are we talking about? boundaries. Anyway, boundaries are super important.
Yeah.
And so for me, and even when I've done my time blocking is more on a weekly basis. So I find monthly is too long.
Mhm.
It's too hard to stick to those routines.
I agree with that.
And then weekly is where the sweet spot usually is.
Mhm.
So when you go through your week, I know every Tuesday afternoon at 1:00, I need to look at financials. And as there gets to be more moving parts, I know Tuesday afternoon, you sit your ass down and you look at those damn financial statements and you have the conversation. So my bookkeeper, she goes through everything. Usually it's like Monday night in preparation for Tuesday or Tuesday morning or something. Sometimes it's Tuesday night. Either way, she sends me her recap. And then we review that. So I know my brain's in financial mode. So now that I've been doing it for so long, it's like Tuesday at 1:00 and my brain goes to finance mode. Yeah. And that's just where it is. But that's also why I'm unavailable to record podcasts on Tuesday afternoon, because my business financials are really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a boundary too, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, there's flexibility within that. Sometimes we've changed that, but that means that I know that if I'm doing that, if we're doing a podcast recording on Tuesday afternoon, then I need to financials on Wednesday afternoon. A lot of the time, the financials just won't get done that week.
Yeah.
And it just won't.
No,
Instead of switching it.
Yeah.
So my day-to-day now, again, it looks very different than what it was when I was working. Usually I would wake up when I was working and had a full team and felt like I had to be at the office from 9 or 10 until 4. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that was when I was the most miserable in Teacup and in the career as an entrepreneur. I would get up and I would still work out in the morning. My morning workout, as soon as the kids are out the door, I work out. That's like my thing. I've actually learned to be more flexible with it now, but I'll circle back to that. So you get up, work out, do a meditation, have a sauna, do like me time, at least 20 minutes to half an hour of that, like no phones, no nothing. I won't answer a text message typically until after 10 o'clock. That is my me time. And then I will shower, get ready for the day, whether that means putting sweats back on or hoodie back on or whatever else. Always shower because I just love it. It wakes me up. And then I'll sit down and start to work. I'll make some food in there or whatever else. Now, what used to look like getting up and going to the shop for that 10 or 11 o'clock. Now I go to the shop 2 days a week. I go to the shop. I get there at about 11 to noon and I'm there for about 2 to 3 hours. And I'm there, I'm working on whatever. And I find what this does, although I could work from home, I like to go to the shop. I like to see Tyler at the shop. I like to talk. I like to, check in, see how it's going, just someone to bullshit with even. So when I show up, lately it's been around lunchtime, which is good. It's a break for him, but we'll chit chat for 15 minutes, half an hour at least. And then if the trades are there, one of my most favorite things is talking the trades. I love it. I love bullshitting trade talk.
Yeah.
Guys will say I'm a trade. Like they're like, talk like a trade, talk like a trucker. Lots of fucks to give. Yeah, but I really, really like that. So again, just seeing those parts of the day that you really like and doing that.
Yeah.
And I find when I'm in a funk and I'm feeling really shitty, it's like, go to the shop. So it's enough time for me to be away. So the team has to figure out their things on their own and enough time for me to be there to still make sure those relationships are going and they feel supported. And for me to keep my head out of my ass, like I said before, and not get too in my thoughts or whatever else.
It's a good balance.
It is a good balance. So that's what I do now. Wednesdays, my Wednesday afternoons, this actually started when I did have a full team. Wednesdays were my home day. And it was, after Dad died and I rehired a whole bunch of people about 6 to 8 months into them being on the team, I just said, I got to start spending more time away. And having that free day with nothing booked, I will not have appointments. I will not really take calls from clients or really anything. Wednesday's my free day. And if it can't wait, well, usually it's someone else's emergency. Other people's emergencies are not my emergencies. So that's how I kind of look at that. It's rarely, I can't even tell you something that's an emergency that would come up right now, the way that I've designed my life. And I think that that's key too, is that I've designed it this way. I set that intention. I design it that way. I set boundaries. I don't react to things anymore.
Yeah.
And then Fridays, because the kids are home at noon, if I'm trying to do work, it drives me batshit crazy with them here. And then we'll have friends from the neighborhood just, coming over, which I love. I love when the neighborhood kids are here, but I don't love it when I'm trying to do work.
No.
So I just have given up on that. And I'll go to the library or I'll go do something, or I'll hang out with them. Or if they do end up screwing off and going to other friends' house, then great. Then I'll do some work, but it's really a flexible day. So, and then again, you know, Saturdays and Sundays, of course, are kind of like those free days, whatever come up. I even time block in time to spend with Nick because I think it's too easy. It was too easy for the kids to go to bed and me sit at my computer until 10 o'clock at night until I go to bed.
For sure.
And I used to hate watching TV, but now I actually enjoy, like, I want to watch our shows at night. So right now, the kids, we say goodnight at 8 o'clock. They're in their rooms. Tag doesn't go to sleep at 8. He stays up till about 9. Arlo usually falls asleep right away still because she's little. And then Nick and I watch a show or two. Now that the playoffs are on, Nick's like, I'm watching the Oilers game. And I'm like, are we really going to watch this whole thing? We're not going to watch Ransom Canyon?
Did you watch Ransom Canyon?
Yes, really.
I did too.
I'm not done yet.
It's like
it's like tornado.
Off-brand Yellowstone.
It is, and like worse, like cheesier. It's Nicholas Sparks.
It's so slow.
So slow. But I like Josh Duhamel.
But I can't stop watching it.
I know.
Well, I did finish it.
Finished it?
Anyway. Okay,
So
there we go. That's our review.
Yeah.
This is Siskel and their
Ebert.
Yeah, McCarthy and Tyndall.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
Ransom Canyon. Josh Duhamel. And what's her name?
Her name. Can't remember, but she's cute.
I love her. She's so cute.
I know. I love it.
Anyway, I like it.
Yeah, so we watch the shows, and then now when Nick's watching the hockey game, obviously they're in the playoffs, so I'm wearing my sweater. They play tonight. If they lose, it's my fault. If they win, it's also my fault. It's because of me. Yeah, then we go to bed like at the same time. Like that's important to me. Yeah. I don't like really not going to bed.
So Brent and I don't.
But we have such different schedules.
We just are, but it works for us though.
Right. And he's home a lot more during the day. Like,
yes. I see him all the time. Yeah. I see him all the time.
So it just depends on what works. And then you can learn to be flexible within that schedule. So that's kind of weekly time blocking and sticking to those boundaries, I think, are important.
Yeah.
And then you can learn to have that freedom. Oh, appointments during the day. I've always done this for like 15 years. I've done it with clients. I have 2 blocks a day where I will talk to people in meetings. That's it, 2, because they take a lot out of me. And what I know is that 2 hours max for a meeting. I can't go over a 2-hour meeting. Everyone, the client will start to shut off and stop listening to important things. And I start to get really exhausted. So when I was at Avonlea, my meetings would be between 9:30 and 11 in the morning, typically, if they start at 10 or something like that. So then there's one before lunch, and then I had time to follow up after and do my paperwork stuff that I had to do administratively. And then it would be at 1 or 1:30 until 3:30. And those are my 2 blocks. And I've actually carried that through. So I know by the time 11 o'clock rolls around or 1 o'clock, there's like, my brain just turns on to, okay, do you have to be somewhere? But even on my days off, I will only program things for those times, like my chiropractor appointment or dentist appointment or hair appointment. Those are still the blocks that I use because my body is programmed to be ready at that time. My body's programmed to be available for other people at that time. And that's just something that really works the best for me.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were kind of talking about. It's interesting because it's like we talk about time freedom and being able to do what we want.
It's actually quite structured.
And that's what actually would probably surprise a lot of people too. Yeah. It's just not in the way that we just don't operate in that 9 to 5. And I think that that's a good kind of wrap up. Really. Yeah. It's just doing things differently, and that you do have the power to kind of change it, and it can change, and it's not one size fits all, and you can, figure out what works for you and take things that you enjoyed from, the structure and weave that into something new, create something new.
And I even think this is important to note that even if you're in a 9 to 5 and you're feeling too bogged down or you want to set new boundaries with your time, go talk to your manager or owner, whoever 100%. That is, because I'm willing to bet that they will more than welcome. If you're a high performer, they will more than welcome you getting groceries on a Tuesday afternoon if it's going to be better for your mindset and your performance. So don't be afraid to have those conversations. That's another thing that I teach in one of my courses too, is how to have those tough conversations in an easy way when you're in that 9
Jen,
to 5.
how can people find out about your courses?
Oh God, I know. That's like, I actually...
Should we go to your link in bio?
Link in bio, The Real Jenny McCarthy. My courses change all the time. So sometimes I did a burnout to balance course just a little while ago. I have the life audit method. I have the power life accelerator, and they're all kind of things that are similar, but with a different element behind them. So yeah, it really all depends on what phase you're in your life and what you need help with. So reach out, I would say, through DMs or comment, and we can see if there's something that you need help with. We can focus on it and get it figured out for you. So life's easier.
Yeah.
So you too can get groceries Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah. Well, and so maybe you can suck a little bit less.
Ultimately.
So we don't suck. That's okay. Well, thanks, Jen.
Next week on Unsuccessful, we're taking a detour into something we all secretly love: personality tests. We're talking Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, DISC, astrology, love languages, and why all those test results you saved 10 years ago might be holding you back more than helping you. Here's the truth. You've changed. You're supposed to. But has your self-awareness evolved with you? Whether you're a type 2, an INFP, or just trying to decode your partner's moon sign, this one is full of laughs, aha moments, and one very important reminder: you're not meant to stay the same. Don't miss it. And as always, this is Unsuccessful, the podcast where we help you suck just a little bit less. See you next time.